everyone. Welcome to our webinar today, 10 in-app engagements to boost user experience. Bonus, we actually are throwing in 2 more in-app engagements examples in the webinar, and we are going to get started shortly. So if you have any questions, please make sure to put them into the chat panel. We are going to be addressing them towards the end of the webinar. You can throw your question into the chat panel at any time. So if we cover something and it sparks a question in your head, please make sure you jot it down. Just a couple of other housekeeping items on the next slide. We are also recording this webinar, and we are going to be sending out the recording link within the next 24 hours. So you'll get access to the slides and the video itself. Also, if you are interested in more webinars from Gainsight or just some of our other content, please head over to the Gainsight website. We are producing a lot of content right now, a lot of stuff addressing the current economic climate due to COVID. So please make sure you take a look at that. And with that, I'll hand it over to our speakers. On the next slide, you'll see our moderator today is Ryan Tobin. He's the General Manager of Gainsight EMEA. And we're also joined by Adam Joseph, our Director of Customer Success here in EMEA, and Liam Gillerin, a Solutions Consultant.
Thank you, Lauren. And for everybody, this is Ryan. Thanks for joining us today. Or if you're listening to the recording, thanks for hitting play. So let me give you an overview of what we're going to talk about. We're going to spend a little bit of time on sort of why we're talking about in-app right now, give an overview of some of the key sort of in-app messages, and hopefully that should only take about the first 10 to 15 minutes. And then we're going to spend most of our time sort of going through what in-apps look like, give a visibility into sort of what we're talking about, some of the more effective uses of in-apps, dig a little bit into then how you build them, and then leave time at the end for questions. So as Lauren said, please put any questions in the chat and we will address them between myself, Liam, and Adam at the end. All right, so why are we here? So, nothing I'm going to say here is really shocking to anybody. There has been a lot of discussion with us all sort of stuck in our house that the digital age or digital transformation has been accelerated. And potentially, if you're working in tech, it doesn't feel that different, but for most of the world, that is the case. And if you look at sort of this chart on the left, what it's showing you is this is our customers who leverage our PX product, where we have visibility into their overall activity in the product. And we are seeing a ton of growth, which means in terms of MAU count. So people are logging in more than they ever have before. So with being at home, people are giving the tech companies that they're working with basically a new opportunity to show value in their product, which is a great opportunity potentially for those of us in tech, because we've been trying to get this to happen for years in many different ways. However, at the exact same time, now that they are trying, there is even heightened scrutiny on showing value. So, for those of us who work with our customers directly or attend EBRs or whatnot, I don't know how many times I imagine you've been at customer reviews, potential renewal reviews, and they haven't gotten as much value as they want. Well, why is that? Partially because they say to us that it's their fault as well, because they haven't put in the effort to do change management. They haven't focused on the implementation as much as they should have. And because of that, we're going to continue to work to get further in the process. This is a pretty common discussion point at renewal. Well, right now they're actually doing that. And so if we don't show them value now, I think that the repercussions of that are going to be worse than they have been in the past. But then, so good news is people are adopting. But if I go to the next slide, in all of that adoption and all of the additional essentially work that's happening for us, we have less resources, right? Not news to anybody. We need to do more with less. People are on furloughs. You're definitely, if you're not doing that, you're definitely not getting headcount, or most likely not getting headcount. So the way that we communicate with customers personally, the way that we've done it to date, if you're not using an app, is not going to work. We need to figure out a way to do more with less, which is why we're talking about in-app engagements. How do we communicate with our customers at the time that they're using the product, help them adopt, help them see the value in various ways, and whether it's not with Gainsight or with another tool, either way, it's a strong strategy to figure out how we need people to get value now, instead of frankly waiting for product to be updated over multiple release cycles to make adjustments. And I will note that this is why Gainsight has currently our promotion going on, which is free engagements for 90 days, with the idea that that is what people need. People need to see value and people have less resources. So how do we help with that? So I'm going to hand it over for a minute to Adam Joseph, who runs customer success for Gainsight for Europe, and want him to give a view on the customer success side of all this, because obviously in-app engagements tend to focus also on product, and that's where a lot of the discussions and rhetoric happen, but it's also for the customer success team communicating with their customers. So I'll hand it over to you, Adam.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Ryan, and a very good morning to those of you listening live, and thank you to those also listening to the recording. So I've worked in customer success for probably about 17 years, which seems like an eternity. But if I think about the shift that I've seen since my early days, where trying to educate and engage with end users had to be done via the customer success team itself or relying on email. And clearly that's not a great way to try and scale your customer success program, because as a CS leader and a CS team, we only get to touch a very small percentage of end users as a whole. So I think there's always been the idea that actually using your product itself, which is one of the 10 laws of customer success, which I'll come on and talk about in a moment, is just such a wonderful way to engage with end users. So I've definitely seen over those 17 years I want to do it, and now we're actually realizing some of the success from doing that. And we've seen countless times across the community how organizations are coming up with really exciting and innovative ways to engage with their users directly through the product itself by leveraging in-app engagements. In fact, I remember back at Pulse, some of you might have joined our Pulse EMEA conference in November last year at Olympia. And a Gainsight customer review pro stood up and actually talked about this and gave some great examples. So they spoke about how they shifted their NPS program from being purely email based to NPS via the product, and saw something like a 10 to 20x response rate on NPS, which was unreal for them. They also used it to help drive webinar signs up. So whereas before they were getting just a handful of their customers sign up for their webinar program, from using in-app engagements, it went up to something like 50% of total users signed up for their webinar program. So it's incredible to see the difference, whether it's for surveying, whether engaging new users, whether it's trying to use in-app engagements to promote new functionality. The results are just staggering. And I think increasingly now, I think from a user experience perspective, I think the bar has never been set so high. I think customers are now demanding that without necessarily needing to go through hours of online training or needing your CSM to come and visit your premises, well, at least virtually at the moment, that you should be able to get some short-term value, at least, to be able to do the basics, whether that's setup or some configuration, straight out of the box. And in-app engagements really help you do that. And I think even more, I think the product needs to be a virtual customer success manager in its own right. And being able not just to have pop-ups that are the same for everyone, but being able to target specific users, maybe that with certain experiences, are absolutely vital to that. Because fundamental at the very heart of every successful SaaS business, you need not just people logging in, but you need them using a wide range of different types of functionality. And most importantly for new users, get their aha moment. So the point where they're not just logging in, but they now understand the benefits that they're getting from using the solution. In-app engagements are just so vital. And in fact, this was predicted somewhat if you're like me 3 or 4 years ago, and I've got my copy in front of me, the blue customer success book that I often see when I go and visit customers. And in fact, on some Zoom calls, I've seen it on many bookshelves of some of the people that I've been talking to behind them.